those who are joining us via our virtual community in Facebook and on our YouTube channel. We welcome the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living, where we are continuing our June series, Holy Boldness. And today we're examining this idea of unbounded and unstoppable, freedom and transformation. And I'd like to begin our time together today by this quote from Ernest Holmes. When the soul knows freedom, the law will free the body, and the outer life will express health, happiness, and success. And this is what our teaching is all about, is to trust in the law, to know that the law is always working for us. And through the law, we are expressing health, happiness, success, and freedom. Happy Father's Day to those who have stepped into the role of being a father, whether you're a biological father, a foster father, an uncle, a cousin, whatever category you may fall into. And also to the women who have stepped into that role of father. Anyone who has been a nurturer and has cared for and has given of their time and their energy to influence the life of a younger person. We appreciate you, we acknowledge you, and we thank God for you this morning. A couple of other things that are happening this week that I would like to call our attention to is Wednesday, June 19th, is the celebration of Juneteenth. And Juneteenth, just as a little historical perspective, celebrates the day in 1865 when Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and proclaimed the end of slavery in that state. Now, what's significant about this is that the proclamation of emancipation that was signed by President Abraham Lincoln had been signed into law over 2 years before the word actually reached Texas. And so it reveals another example of the deep-rooted nature of slavery in certain regions in our nation. Now, the significance of Juneteenth for African Americans is more than the end of a brutal system of forced labor. It's a symbol of hope, a symbol of freedom, and a beacon for newfound freedom. It represents the chance for self-determination, the power to shape our future, and the dream to live a life free from oppression. Now, before we get too comfortable and think that the emancipation cured all of the ills, let's remember that Juneteenth continues to resonate today. It is more than just a day of celebration. It is a powerful call to action, especially since it gains recognition as a national holiday. Thank you to President Joe Biden for signing that legislation. It is also a call to contribute to the fight for equity and to build a nation where promises of freedom and opportunity is accessible to all. Remember, when one is free, all is free. When one is bound, all are bound. And so this is an opportunity to commit and to recommit to the enduring legacy of freedom that Juneteenth represents, and to strive for a future where all are indeed free. Commemorating Juneteenth, the enduring spirit of Black independence commemorates freedom from external oppression and the desire to live unbounded and unstoppable. And then on Thursday, June the 20th, we are celebrating summer solstice, the beginning of summer. And this is a time when new energy, new beginnings, and a deeper connection with our spiritual selves emerges. It's a time to reflect on our personal growth and potential for new beginnings in our lives. And so we shift our focus now to the teachings of science of mind and spirit, which remind us that when we know our divine connection with spirit, we realize the truth of who we are. We move from a place of unlimited potential. We operate from holy boldness, and we know no bounds or red lights in spirit. There are no red lights in spirit. When we feel this way in God, we feel irrepressible and unrestrained. We feel liberated, lifted, and ready to take on anything with faith and strength. We trust the unlimited potential of the infinite that is within us as well as around us. Freedom is a divine quality in God that represents free will, independent expression, creativity, and liberty. Total freedom means no outer or inner restraint. We think of freedom from external limitations based on others' actions. However, we must recognize our own internal limitations that we place on ourselves. The good news is that our spiritual practices, our affirmations, our spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, and our meditation are our support tools, allowing us to realize that where there is inner bondage, we have placed ourselves in, or we have allowed others to place us in. When we're thinking about being in a place of bondage, it's easy to think about external situations that impose themselves on us. But we have our own inner struggles, those which we have placed on ourselves and those that we have accepted from others. And so it is these inner chambers of bondage that sometimes wind up being more restrictive than any external influences. They can either be conscious, unconscious, or subconscious, somewhere beneath our awareness. Our spiritual work releases these inner restraints, and we unbind ourselves with freedom. We build our resilience and excitement for life by developing a sense of being unbounded and unstoppable, realizing our dreams and our goals. And we do this again by knowing that there are no limitations in God. Freedom and liberty are vital elements in becoming unbounded and unstoppable. Cultural Independence Day celebrations represent independence from struggle, control, or dominance. Think about the independence that we celebrate here in the United States. It is a day of reckoning self-reliance, community strengthening, or perhaps sovereignty. It is also a reclamation of truth to make things right, just, and equitable. Spiritually, we celebrate Independence Day also by becoming unbounded and unstoppable in God. We allow ourselves to be. We claim freedom and liberty from our limitations and obstacles, whether they are internal or external. This is our spiritual celebration of independence. Freedom and liberty are a time of personal reckoning with ourselves. It's a time to stop selling ourselves short or imposing restrictions on ourselves. Freedom and liberty are where we develop a sense of unbounded and unstoppable and moving into this place of holy boldness regardless of what is before us. Eckhart Tolle offers this in The Power of Now. To know yourself as being underneath the thinker, the stillness underneath the mental noise, the love and joy underneath the pain is freedom, salvation, and enlightenment. And so what Eckhart Tolle is saying to us is that in consciousness, in our awareness of the indwelling presence, we are underneath all of these external things. And it is where this is where we experience freedom, salvation, and enlightenment. Sometimes we allow perceived obstacles to become real in our lives. And again, the good news is that we can flip the script. We can flip our perspective by clearing the perspectives and the obstacles. When we realize the perception is an if only, and we allow it to be as an if only, this is the place where we can change the dynamic of the picture. And I just know in my own life, as I was thinking about this, there's situations that I have given credence to, way more credence than they deserved. And I recognize this when I catch myself telling or retelling or dramatizing the story, whatever it is. Most of it is made up anyway, allowing it to loom larger than life. And I also find myself doing this not only externally in conversations with others, but when I choose to go into that place of having what I call my own internal pity party. It was when I get on my own internal soapbox. And I have to say to myself, stop it. Just stop it. Our individual experiences could be our own fears, or the fears that someone else has imposed upon us, or the fear of someone else that is acting out of a place of hurt and old fears. And then we've allowed these to take power over us. The perception of the obstacle, this is key. The perception of the obstacle becomes larger than life. It's the perception that prevents us from being, expressing, and manifesting who we really are until we stop it, we flip the script, we call out the obstacle or the perceived illusion, and we say, this no longer has power over me, and I am replacing it with a new story. You know, there are some quotes that are going around on social media now and there's different backgrounds and different ways of phrasing it, but they're saying, in essence, we cannot change the past. I remember someone saying the pencil of life does not have an eraser. So we cannot change the past, but starting right now, in this very moment, we can move forward and create the life that we choose to live in spirit, knowing that our individual experiences are that which allow us to write a new story. Now, in writing a new story, this requires a willingness to see and name the perceived obstacle. We have to see it and name it. And doing this frees us from the limitations that keep us from doing or being what we are meant to be or do. Out of this comes confidence and conviction. And these are required to be unbounded and unstoppable. And as I mentioned earlier, we build our spiritual muscle through our consistent spiritual practices. And it is through this consistency that we create an unshakable belief and assuredness in where we're headed. Now, we may not know or fully understand the whole picture. We may not see the whole thing. If we saw the whole thing, it might be too overwhelming and we might get scared and turn around. And so I think this is why Spirit reveals to us in little bite-sized pieces what we can see and allows us to know where we're headed. And in knowing where we're headed and in seeing those little bite-sized pieces, we can also see obstacles and road bumps along the way that allow us to self-correct. You know, and I equate it to using a GPS system when I'm driving especially if I'm going on a long trip. I may know the route that I normally take, and I may know some of the roadblocks or construction or whatever is going on along the way. But if I haven't driven that direction in a while, there could be changes that I'm not aware of. And so without the support of the GPS, that alarms me, that lets me know I need to self-correct in some area, then I might wind up in a place that I did not want to be. And so it's the confidence and conviction in our own selves, in knowing and relying on our intuitive self that leads us into knowing the truth. We take action, we hear and answer the call. We discover our own unique beat. You know, we sometimes, I'll claim ownership of this. I have, and I've heard others say about individuals who are not necessarily marching to the beat that we would like for them to march to, We say that they march to their own beat, meaning that there is a sense of independence there. And that sense of independence is to be appreciated. It is to be acknowledged. And it's an opportunity for us to flip the script, if you will, and decide that I'm going to march to my own beat because it is my assignment. It is my individual beat that Spirit has given to me. It may feel odd. It may feel unusual. But it is a different beat than others are moving to. And so with conviction and confidence, we recognize that we are empowered to step out anyway, regardless of what others may think or say. And I'm reminded of Terrico Whitaker and the famous book that she wrote, "What you think of me is none of my business." And when we live from that perspective, what someone else thinks of me is none of my business. Now, I'm not saying that we have permission to just go rampant and do whatever we want to do. There are ways to show up in alignment with what is required to live in harmony and in partnership with all of life. We don't get permission to just run rampant. However, we do have permission to develop our own path to be in harmony with what is around us. We have the courage to come out of the closet, whatever that closet is, and to express what we have not expressed before. This is where we find the bravery, the strength, the confidence, the conviction, and the holy boldness to do it anyway, and to do it anyway regardless. Eric Butterworth offers this encouragement in the book Spiritual Economics. Nothing else can satisfy or fulfill unless you enjoy the freedom that comes from control of your inner world, of mind and emotions. So we're getting back to always doing our inner work. The inner work is being in tune with and in alignment with Spirit and following that still small voice within. And I offer this story to wrap up this talk this morning. You may be familiar with it as I begin sharing it, and I'm not going to tell you who it is until the end, but I think you may be familiar. I was in prison for 27 years. My activities were solitary confinement, hard labor, investigation, and torture. I had 3 jailers. 2 of them are alive and here with me today. They really are the only people I saw for most of those 27 years. And for the first 17 years, I hated them. Every brief encounter that we had was filled with hatred. In the 17th year of my imprisonment, I realized that such hate was unhealthy for me and for the movement. I realized if I spent the rest of my life in prison, I would die from hatred if I didn't find a way through. Most importantly, I realized that to free my people, I indeed needed to free not only the oppressed, but the oppressor. The oppressor is in a different kind of pain, a different kind of trauma, but just as horrendous as the oppressed. I needed to unlock the hatred by finding a place in my heart for my jailers. So I spent the next year, the 17th year of my imprisonment, learning to love these men. By the end of that year, I knew about their families, their wives, their parents. I found a place in my heart for them and loved them. That's when I began to run the movement from prison. And this is the story of Nelson Mandela and the powerful work that he did in South Africa. And so our call to action. Again, I turn to our Science of Mind textbook in the writings of Ernest Holmes, which says, the only reason a person is limited is that they do not allow the divine within them to more completely express. We are limited because we do not allow the divine within to completely express. To feel unbounded, we free ourselves of restraint and ultimate and unlimited ability to move and take action. We move into that place where we know there are no red lights in spirit. To feel unstoppable, we free ourselves of perceived obstacles or boundaries that prevent us from moving forward. To move boldly through life in a sacred manner, we embrace a divine connection to the sense of freedom that is the divine quality of God within us. The pathway leading us to be unstoppable is our divine birthright. Don't look back. You're not going that way. There are no limits or no barriers that can stop us. And let us share now our affirmation for this week. I am unstoppable in God. Let us say that together. I am unstoppable in God. I am unstoppable in God. And I want us to reflect on that affirmation as we prepare to move into prayer. I am unstoppable in God. And I know this to be the truth because there is only God. There is only life. That life is whole, it is perfect, it is complete. It is a life that I am and each one is living right here and right now. Each one is an individualized expression of pure spirit, this life of God. And so moving forward, knowing that I am unstoppable in God, I speak my word this morning, proclaiming and declaring that this truly is the day that the Lord has made, a new day, a new opportunity, a blank canvas to create from, to allow that unstoppable energy, that unstoppable impetus that is within me to express in its fullness, in its glory, in its grandeur, and to express without abandon. And as this is true for me, I am declaring it as a truth for all. I speak my word for each one that is choosing to come out of whatever closet that has been imposed by an external or an outer idea or practice or thought or belief. Knowing that there are no limitations in spirit and that each one, I am, and each one is a unique creation of spirit. And so I step out of that darkness into the light, saying, here I am. Here I am as a full expression of spirit, a full expression of the divine. And I live my life from a place of holy boldness, declaring the truth of who I am. I speak my word this morning for all who are gathering in the name and nature of the one life, the one love, the one power, and the one presence. Knowing that there is only the truth with a capital T, that truth which unites each one, that truth which unites all things, that truth which is the creator of all that there is. And so as we step into the awareness of the truth of our individuality, we know that this truth prevails, that this energy, that this intelligence that we sometimes call God is absolutely operating in its fullest expression in everything that there is. I speak my word this morning for peace within our land, peace and harmony within our communities, knowing that there's a spirit of love, there's a spirit of unity, there's a spirit of harmony that is seeking to emerge. And sometimes the outer idea or the outer practice of allowing this to emerge masks itself as violence, as hatred, as unbelief, as distractions. And I am knowing that all of that is eradicated in spirit right here and right now. And that as I change my thinking, as I change my mind, and as I change my heart, that is where peace begins. I speak my word of grace and wholeness and peace for those who are experiencing transitions in life, those who are healing from a medical procedure or a surgical procedure or a health condition, those who are experiencing the transitions of loved ones who have stepped off of this mortal plane into the greater yet to be, recognizing that where we are right now is only one chapter in the total experience of life. And so as we move through this chapter, at some point putting a period at the end of this chapter, we turn the page into a new dimension, a new awareness, a new truth, a new activity. And so for this awareness of truth, I am eternally grateful. Releasing this word back into that law which always says yes, knowing that my word cannot and will not return void. It must be fulfilled as I have declared. And so again, in gratitude, I know that it is done, and I know it is done well. And I just allow this to be. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, please affirm it by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Thank you. And now it is time for us to share in our exchange of abundance, to share the prosperity that is prevailing in our lives. And we have an affirmation of prosperity that I invite us to say together. The presence of God within me is the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so there are multiple ways to donate to our center. Gratitude for those who mail in their donations while the usher is passing the basket here in the center. For those who are here, you may donate in person. You may also text to give. That number is on our screen. And you may also donate through our website, www.montereycsl.org/donate. Again, thank you for the way that you continually support this spiritual community. We are grateful, and we are living in the presence of now. And so just a few reminders to our virtual community. We are continuing to celebrate Pride Month. And for those of you who may be viewing and live in the Monterey area, we invite you to join us on Saturday, June the 29th at the plaza right down by the wharf. We are staffing a table for the Monterey Pride event, and we are seeking volunteers to help staff the table. For those who are here in the center, we have a sign-up sheet. Thank you for those who have signed up. We do need at least one or two more people to sign up for the 10:30 slot to help us set up the table. We appreciate your yes and your willingness to come and be a part of that. We are also celebrating Immigrant Heritage Month. We just concluded our celebration of Flag Day. Today is Father's Day, Juneteenth, the summer solstice, and we're just appreciative for the opportunities that life offers us to recognize the uniqueness of each individual and what each one brings to the table. So we invite you to return next week when our topic will be higher heights. We're moving to higher heights as we move into, as we continue in our June series. We invite you to like, please like, to comment. And to comment, you only need 3 words in the comment section. And this allows Facebook and YouTube to recognize the algorithms. And so I'm going to challenge each one of you who are here in the center also to go in on our YouTube page, click on the like button, and to go onto our Facebook page and click the like button. Because the more we share, the more likes we have, then the greater, then what happens is that our message shows up in the feed on YouTube and on Facebook. So we appreciate and we thank you for doing that. And so we say farewell and good morning. We love you, we appreciate you, and we thank God for all of you who join our spiritual community.